This is your Weather Xtreme video for Sunday, March the 5th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. Thanks so much for tuning in. Satellite image shows that overnight we saw a good deal of cloudiness increase across central Alabama from the weather systems off to our west. On the surface map, we have good southerly flow bringing moisture into the lower Mississippi River Valley. Looks like we'll stay fairly dry today. Thanks to the relatively dry air mass that we can see in place from the sounding last night. That will slowly moisten up today. I think if anybody sees much in the way of sprinkles, it's going to be the west central part of the state. In the upper atmosphere, the reason for the clouds and all this, or the risk of some light sprinkles, is that we have a little bit of a disturbance. We mentioned that yesterday, but expecting primarily only clouds. Temperatures this morning considerably warmer than we saw yesterday morning, with most locations across central Alabama and, as a matter of fact, all the way up into the Tennessee River Valley, generally in the 40s. Radar showing some rain, but as we note on the sounding once again, a lot of that is not reaching the ground thanks to the rather dry sounding from last night at the Shelby County Airport, all the way up to nearly 500 millibars. Watch warning map is a little bit busy in the western half of the United States. We do have a dark blue area over South Carolina, which is freeze advisories for this morning. The pink you see in the central U.S., those are high fire danger. The browns are high wind warnings and high wind advisories. The purples and less bright pinks are winter weather advisories. QPF-wise, it looks like, much like we talked about yesterday, probably on the order of 3/4 to 1 inch for most of us, and that event coming primarily Tuesday with the approach of a front. Storm Prediction Center has no severe weather outlook today, but just thunderstorms mainly over the western part of the United States. On day 2, that will be Monday into early Tuesday, slight risk over parts of northwestern Arkansas, southwestern Missouri, and a little bit of the southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. And that's surrounded by a fairly large marginal risk area, and that's, of course, ahead of that front. The weather is likely to decrease on day 3 as the front gets down into the southeastern U.S., and there's only a marginal risk area outlook. We might see a small, slight risk area pop up there. All right, the 060 GFS model run, and there's the upper ridge, which is giving us this nice warmer weather, but also that little bit of a troughiness you see over East Texas primarily, and that together with the moisture coming up through the lower Mississippi River Valley is helping to create at least some showers, especially to our west. Again, I think primarily the big threat for central Alabama is west of I-65, and that's going to be primarily sprinkles. That little trough moves on by, and the ridge is the predominant feature, but now we're watching that big one out over the western part of the central U.S. And, of course, with moisture in place and good southerly flow, you can't rule out the possibility of a passing shower on Monday, but I think for the most part we should stay fairly dry. The system moves ever so much closer on Tuesday. As you can see, a really wrapped up and closed low over south central Canada. And at the surface, we have a really deep, that's below 972 millibars up there over south central Canada, with the cold front wrapping all the way across parts of Canada and the Great Lakes down into the United States. And ahead of that front, we expect to see Cape values fairly substantial over Mississippi, and hence the marginal risk area. However, with time on Tuesday, we do expect, this is by midnight Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, we do expect the system to be weakening. Much of the dynamics so far north that I doubt that we'll see much in the way of anything other than perhaps a passing thunderstorm or two. For Wednesday, that trough moves off into the eastern part of the United States, and that takes the front off the southeast coast of the U.S. as high pressure moves in. But as you can see, the high pressure not bringing in any really cold air. So while we may drop back a few degrees, we don't get very cold. Thursday, the ridge is in place, and we do see a couple of little disturbances, but I think a lack of moisture is going to keep that, mostly some high clouds. Same story on Friday. And on Friday, we're perhaps going to need to introduce once again some low chances of a passing shower, just simply because the high has gotten off to the east and we're getting good southerly flow, and that is increasing the moisture in the atmosphere over the southeastern U.S. Saturday, we're still more or less in a ridge pattern, although we do have a couple of little disturbances moving through the flow, and we'll be watching those. We get a low over in the vicinity of Chicago, with a front trailing down into Texas, but that's not going to be moving a great deal as we stay under a bit of a ridge on Sunday, and the pattern just not changing much as the southwesterly flow aloft helps to keep that front pretty much parallel to the flow, so it's not going to make much in the way of progress. Looking out into Voodoo country, we see another substantial trough around the 14th of March moving through the area, so that means probably the best chances for rain are going to come on the 13th, maybe into early hours of the 14th. We do cool off a fairly substantial trough over the eastern part of the country around the 15th of March, and that certainly has a bit of a coolish look to it, maybe flirting with freezing values. But we see another substantial trough around the 17th, and then yet another one around the 20th. So the big bottom line is it's going to stay rather busy. That'll do it for the Weather Xtreme video. James Spann should be back with the next edition first thing on Monday morning. In the meantime, stay tuned to the blog for notes on Alabama's weather. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. Have a great Sunday, and Godspeed.